Morning guys, I just jammed my finger opening my new phone case. It's a bit stiff, so I hope your morning's going better than mine. Monday morning here, so I hope you had a good weekend. I wanted to talk about, I've coached, for a long time, mainly young women as a tennis coach, and then also life coaching, business coaching, pageant coaching, obviously, or maybe not obviously if you didn't know. At the end of the day, most coaching comes down to some form of, I just want to be happy, right? The client wants to be happy. Maybe said better, I think the client wants to be fulfilled or live a life on purpose. They have an idea as to what they want their life to look like. And my job as a coach is to get them as close to that dream and sometimes beyond it if I've done my job really, really well. Happiness is maybe a good short-term goal, but no matter how well you're doing, you and I both know you're not going to wake up happy every day, and life likes to throw the occasional curveball at you, doesn't it? Just yesterday I was trying to shoot a video. I was walking around on these streets, and right in the middle of the video there was a young kid next to me, probably 13, 14, fell off his bike, took all the skin off his chin, was bleeding everywhere, and just started screaming. You know, that scream that you know something is wrong. It's just not like the screaming of a child when they want attention. It's like, when you hear that pitch, it's a pretty blood-curdling scream. Life likes to you can do everything right. You can wear the helmet, be riding, properly down the correct side of the road, and you just hit a rock or something, and then off you go. And life likes to do things like that to us sometimes. It gives us tests. So as I said, I think the goal of coaching is to find out what the client wants. What is their vision for their life? And now, if you're a tennis coach, maybe you just focus on the tennis part of that, and that's fine. And then the goal as a coach is to help get the client as close to possible to that vision. So I have an equation for you. Life conditions, LC, equals blueprint, BP. So life conditions equals blueprint, LC equals BP. So I think it's fairly self-explanatory, but I'll just go into a little bit of detail. So life conditions is the conditions of your life. So how's your health? How is your wealth? How's your relationships, etc.? It's like, what's going on in your life? Blueprint. Your blueprint is the way that you think your life should be at this present moment in time. Said differently, it's the expectations for how you think your life should have turned out. So it might, for example, be at the age of 30, I should be a millionaire. Or by the age of 30, I should have 2.5 kids. Or, doing pageantry, by the age of 25 or this year, I should have won this title. Now the formula, so LC and BP, life conditions and blueprint, you will feel great on a consistent basis. You will feel fulfilled and on purpose when life conditions match your blueprint, when life conditions equal your blueprint. When you don't feel so great is when your life conditions don't match your blueprint, right? Just think about that for a sec. So when your life conditions don't match your blueprint, you're not going to feel so great, particularly if they don't match for an ongoing period of time. And then really, particularly, if you feel powerless to do anything about it. So if your blueprint involved being a millionaire by age of 30, something that's a very arbitrary goal and perhaps not completely under your control, but if you get to 30 and if you haven't hit that mark, then you're going to feel, disappointed, let down, or that life isn't quite right. And then on top of that, if you then get to 40 and you still haven't become a millionaire, or you feel like there's absolutely nothing you can do, you've tried everything, you've tried every business model, and nothing you do seems to work, then we have a problem. It's not that you're just unhappy. You're going to start feeling a really deep feeling of discomfort, despair, distress, because there's something you feel life should be a certain way, and it's not. So here's the thing. Here's the wind-up and the pitch. Keep it short today. You got two choices. Look, if your life conditions match your blueprint, that's great. I'm happy for you, genuinely. But that might change over time, so keep listening. If your life conditions don't match your blueprint, you'll know. As soon as I've described it, I know you'll know. So You got two choices, logically. One is to change your life conditions. The other one is to change your blueprint. So you change your life conditions to match your blueprint, or you change your blueprint to match your life conditions. Now, what's the issue? For a lot of you, you are an overachiever. So when I give you this equation, you're like, no, my blueprint's correct. I've thought about it a long time. I've been setting goals. I'm type A. Here's my blueprint. I'm going to go change my life conditions. Here's a problem with that. Let's say that you have a certain blueprint, and your blueprint was to fall head over heels in love and be married by the age of 30. That's your blueprint. And your life conditions are, you are now 35, you're single, you've been single for 5 years. Every time you've been on a date, it's been an absolute disaster. It's not that easy to, your blueprint might be all well and good in your head, like, be married by the age of 30 and be wildly in love with your soulmate. Your life conditions may not be as easy to bend to your will as you would like. Sometimes, as I've already discussed, life likes to throw us curveballs. I think the other thing is life sometimes likes to be stubborn. I don't know how religious you are, but there's that saying that God's delays are not God's denials. And God does like to throw delays your way. And it does really piss off type A's. I can tell you that much. Bottom line, life conditions may not be as malleable as you think, at least as quickly as you would like. There was a story that my mentor was sharing with me, and it was this young couple on their honeymoon. They just got married, obviously, wildly in love. They go to the swimming pool. I think they were in Mexico or somewhere. He dives into the pool, breaks his neck. Overnight, becomes a paraplegic. Now, obviously, that's not in anyone's blueprint. When you're getting married, no one says, on a honeymoon, one of us is going to become a paraplegic and then I'll have to take care of you for the rest of your life. And obviously, that couple then really, really struggled. My mentor went in to help turn them around, and he managed to do it, which is an amazing story in and of itself. But it really involved changing the blueprint, not the life conditions. I mean, hopefully one day we'll be able to change it or heal people if they have such a tragic accident. But in the meantime, all we can do is change a blueprint. So the blueprint was, the guy wanted adventure. He wanted to feel like he was able to do something in life because it happened to the guy, and no guy wants to be a burden on his new wife, right? His newlywed. And so he had to change his blueprint that he could still be a force for good. He could still contribute. He could still have adventure in his life. My mentor took him to go racing because this guy loved racing. And because he couldn't use his legs, had the throttles put on the steering wheel. The whole thing was controlled with his hands rather than having to use his legs. And the reason my mentor did that was because it made the guy realize, yes, all right, what happened is a tragedy. It wasn't in my blueprint. But if I adjust my blueprint, I can still have that sense of fulfillment, adventure, peace, joy, and love. That really is what the blueprint is about. And so for you, if you were going for a title and it didn't go your way, especially if it didn't go your way and it didn't go your way for, let's say, political reasons or hidden reasons or reasons that you and I probably don't agree with, we can't change our life conditions, RLC. It's not like we can suddenly say, yes, I am Miss So-and-so. I mean, you could go back next year, sure, but there's no guarantee, is there? You go back and the same thing could happen again. And you see this time and time again. I see first runner-ups who go back and they go, I came first runner-up last time, so if I work harder and do all this and improve myself, then logically I have to be the winner next time. And then they don't even make the top 5, top 10, or they don't even place. That is a classic example of you don't have as much control over your life conditions as you might think. And I'm only laughing because it happens so many times, but people seem to not want to admit it. So you got to go change your blueprint. Now that is a process unto itself, which I don't have time to go into here, and it's probably best to go into with you guys individually because no two people have the same blueprint. But the easiest way to start is actually, let's say, write down your blueprint first. What are the expectations you have for, let's go with health, wealth, and relationships. Those are the 3 big areas. So what are your expectations as to your health, your body, your fitness? your wealth, so your finances, probably put your career in there, or your study if you're a student. And then your relationships, so your intimate relationship if you have one, but also your relationship with your friends, your relationship with your family. Just write down those expectations that you have and any others that you feel are important to you. And you won't have to think too long, because these will be things that are really important to you. You'll also probably think they make a lot of sense, and they should to you, but just write them down. What expectations you have. Start formulating your blueprint, and then just go through as a first step and tell me how many of those expectations, how many of those items in your blueprint are directly under your control. Just realized I have a pimple on my nose, jeez. Sorry, got distracted. Recently diagnosed with ADHD. Can you tell? Recently, as in last week. But how many of the items on your blueprint are directly under your control? Not just influence. Okay, so for example, if you had a financial goal, make $1 million by 30. Obviously, if you work hard, if you have a good business idea, etc., you can stack the deck in your favor. But it is not directly under your control. It's under your influence. So go through how many of those things on your blueprint are directly under your control. You may find that some of them are not under your control at all. I mean, one, like relationships, speaking about intimate relationships, like finding your soulmate. Again, you might think you have some influence over it, and you do. I would say the best influence you can have over that, by the way, is making you the best version possible. Like, if working on yourself, if you want to find your soulmate, think about what sort of person your soulmate would be attracted to, and then work on yourself until you're that kind of person. Rather than going out there and saying, I gotta find my soulmate, and then having this list of expectations for your soulmate and having no expectations for yourself, which is what I see people do all the time. But how many of the elements of your blueprint are under your direct control? And if they're not, so like the $1 million by 30, or finding a soulmate and getting married by 30, I want you to look at those and adjust them so that they are more focused on things that are directly under your control. Keep the central theme, but just change it up a little bit. So what do I mean by that? So the $1 million by 30, it's obviously a financial goal, but ask yourself why. Why is that on your blueprint? Well, if I had $1 million, so ask yourself, if you had $1 million, what would you be able to do? Well, I could have adventure. I could go on trips. I could pay off my house. I could stop worrying about my finances. Whatever that is, I could move to a better place. I could pay off my student debt. I want you to keep that same theme. So the things that you'd think $1 million could do for you, and then break that down into things that are actually more under your control. This might sound a bit silly, but for example, I'm going to wake up every day at 6 a.m. and go for a morning walk. Or I am going to read 10 books on creating financial wealth. Or these are like the precursor steps, right, to becoming wealthy and having great business success. I mean, you got to take care of your own health. You got to take care of your knowledge, all those sorts of things. And so you're creating the fertile ground for that seed to bloom, that seed of financial abundance. If it's relationships, you want to find your soulmate. Well, rather than going, I need to find my soulmate by the age of 30, and needs to be blonde, 5'10", all that stuff. Go, okay, well, I need to work on the best version of myself in order to be able to attract someone like that. So start thinking, okay, I am going to have a smoothie for breakfast every day, or I'm going to wake up and have 2 glasses of water every day. I'm going to make sure I get 8 hours of sleep every day. I'm not going to go on my screen after 8 p.m., whatever it is. And again, they might seem unrelated, but they are creating the fertile ground that gives you the greatest chance of that seed that you don't have control over, the greatest chance of that seed to bloom. And by the way, I mean, I've recently gotten a little bit into gardening, and the seed analogy is really apt here. You don't control if a seed blooms. What are you going to do? Take your packet of seeds, throw them into soil, and water them, and then when they don't bloom, like in the next 5 minutes, you go, these seeds, they don't work, and then you leave them, and they never bloom, because then they die, because you're not looking after them, because they didn't bloom in 5 minutes, and then you go, yeah, these seeds don't work. Planting is a waste of time. I don't think that's the way life works. So your blueprint may have elements where you're basically being like that. It's like you've got a seed and you're wanting it to grow in the next 5 minutes, because some of the seeds that we plant have a very long germination period, like making $1 million or like finding your soulmate. It could happen quick, but it could take a lifetime. And so list your blueprint, take a first pass at it, look at it. Is this under my direct control? Is it something that at best I have influence over? Or is it something that I have no control and no influence over? In which case I wouldn't say scrap it, but definitely break those down into goals, into things that you can do like on an everyday or consistent basis and are under your direct control. And as you do that, you're going to start shifting your blueprint, and you'll be amazed because suddenly your life conditions and your blueprint are going to come together much, much more quickly than if you stubbornly keep trying to change your life conditions without changing your blueprint. And so I want you to keep that in mind. I know it might feel a little, and believe me, I get this. I had a conversation with my doctor/therapist just last week when I was getting diagnosed with ADHD, and I said, I feel like if I take my foot off the gas, well, we're talking about beating ourselves up, and I said, if I stop beating myself up, then I won't have that motivation to achieve. I knew logically it didn't make sense, but I thought it was important to tell the therapist that, and if you're type A, you'll have this exact same struggle. It's like, if I stop beating myself up, or if I stop stressing, or I take my foot off the gas, then nothing's going to get done, and I'll be a failure. And how well is that working for you? You might have achieved a lot, you probably have, but you're also burning yourself the hell out. So it would be much better to measure our success, our fulfillment on a daily basis by doing the little things we can control. And obviously you give some thought to, okay, the little things that I want to do every day, they do want to lead to having my life conditions match my blueprint. So that's my tip for you today. Work out what your blueprint is. And as I said, if your life conditions match your blueprint, you'll know it because you'll be really happy. If they're not, if you're single, divorced, you're sick, whatever it is, just know that you can change. You might not be able to change your life conditions, and I do feel for you. But life ain't fair. That's something that my mum loved to impress upon us as kids, and it's true, isn't it? Like, life ain't fair. It's not. Sometimes good things happen to bad people, and bad things happen to good people. But we can change our blueprint. In fact, it's probably the only. As you get older, you'll realize, in fact, and I don't even measure that in age, I measure that in sort of lived experiences. If you've ever had a loved one pass suddenly, or business implode on you overnight, you'll know there's so little that we actually have any control over at all. Stoicism is great for teaching you this, the ancient philosophy of Stoicism. There's so little you can control. Really, the only thing that you can control is you're here in the here and now. What do you want to do? That's it. You may not be here tomorrow. I may not be here tomorrow. What we do have control over is what we do in the here and now. I'm here recording this video and walking way further than I thought I would because I got too lost in the video because I have ADHD. I mean, having ADHD, I will tell you, that wasn't in my blueprint. See, that explains a lot for me, having the ADHD diagnosis. So I'm okay with it. I'm actually quite happy about it. For some other people, that could be catastrophic news. And so they would need to change their blueprint to include living with I guess, for want of a better word, a mental condition. But for me, I'm happy with it, so I don't have to do that. So as I said, this is a very personal one. Every person's going to be different. And that's why there is no one formula for happiness. Except, maybe, in terms of ongoing fulfillment, life conditions matching your blueprint. So, go away, list out your blueprint, make sure the things are predominantly under your control, or at least very heavily under your influence, and let me know any questions. Let me know how you get on.